let's talk about humility. Seriously, what's the first thing that pops into your head when you hear that word? For a lot of us, it's weakness, right? Or maybe putting yourself down. But what if I told you that our whole idea of humility is just wrong? What if true humility is actually the key to an incredible, unshakable strength? That's the paradox we're going to explore. And that's really the big question we're tackling. In a world that is constantly screaming at us to build our personal brand, to get noticed, to promote ourselves, is there even a place for humility anymore? Is it just some outdated idea, a form of weakness? Or is it a forgotten strength that could unlock a whole new level of security and freedom in our lives? All right, so let's dive right into this core conflict. Is humility a weakness or is it a strength? We're going to start by putting the way our culture usually sees it side by side with a much deeper and honestly a much more challenging perspective. So on the one hand, you've got the common view. Humility equals weakness. It means having low self-esteem or even worse, just thinking you're junk. But a deeper look completely flips that script. It says, no, true humility isn't weakness at all. It's a sign of a deep, unshakable security. It's not about thinking less of yourself. It's about being so solid in who you are that you're free to serve other people. And that's where we get to the real heart of the problem, right? It's this obsession with self. Our culture's intense focus on ourselves, whether it's positive or negative, actually creates this trap. It pushes us toward one of two really unhealthy extremes. So let's unpack these two sides of being self-focused. You know, a really helpful way to picture this is to think of a pendulum of self-focus, and it's just constantly swinging back and forth between two extremes. But here's the thing you gotta catch. No matter which side it swings to, the heavy part, the focus, is always on the self. And here are those two extremes. Over on one side, you've got pride. That one's pretty obvious, right? Thinking you're all that and a bag of chips. But then the pendulum swings all the way over to the other side, self-hatred. Thinking you're worthless, you're junk. They look like total opposites, but they're not. They are just two different flavors of the exact same problem, being completely obsessed with yourself. There's this incredibly simple but profound quote that just cuts right through that lie of self-hatred. God don't make junk. It just reframes everything, doesn't it? It suggests that thinking you're worthless isn't some kind of holy act. It's actually an insult to the one who made you. Okay. So if the pendulum swinging between pride and self-hatred is a trap, how in the world do we get off of it? Well, there is a third way, a path that actually stops the pendulum from swinging at all. And we see it perfectly modeled in the life of Jesus, especially in this one passage from the book of Philippians. The passage says something that is, well, it's kind of mind-blowing. It says Jesus, who was in his very nature God, did not see his equality with God as something to be grasped. Get that word, grasped. He wasn't clinging to his power, his status. Instead, the Bible says he emptied himself. And this is the secret sauce to the whole thing. True humility, the kind Jesus had, doesn't come from being insecure. It flows from total security. Because Jesus was so fundamentally secure in who he was completely and totally free to serve, to put others first, to love without needing anything in return. I mean, just look at the difference here. The world's way is all about grasping for a crown, demanding to be served. Jesus' way is about putting on a towel and washing feet. One is about calling down angels to prove your power. The other is about pouring out your power for others. It's security that shows itself through service. Okay, so with that powerful example fresh in our minds, let's nail this down. Let's get super clear about what true humility really is, and just as important, what it absolutely is not. So let's just get this out of the way. Humility is not low self-esteem. It is not that fake modesty where you're really just fishing for a compliment, and it is absolutely 100% not self-hatred. In fact, the big secret is that true humility isn't about focusing on yourself at all, not in a good way, not in a bad way. So what is it then? Well, true humility is this. It's seeing yourself honestly, accurately. It's having a security in your identity that is so deep that it just frees you. It frees you from needing praise, from needing recognition, and it lets you turn your focus completely to serving other people. Okay, that sounds amazing, right? But how do we do that? How do we actually grow in that kind of humility? The next section gives us a really practical path forward with 4 key things we can actually do on this journey. All right, here are the 4 practices. Number 1, Keep your eyes on Jesus. He's the ultimate example. Number 2, embrace your need. Just admit that you don't have it all together. 3, intentionally practice serving others, especially when nobody's watching. And 4, and this one can be the hardest of all, learn to actually receive love and help from other people. Let go of that pride that says, I can do it all myself. So let's bring all this home with one final thought that, for me, totally shifts the way I think about humility. It's a real game changer. It comes from the writer C.S. Lewis, and it might just be the most perfect summary of everything we've talked about. He wrote, "Humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less." Just let that sink in for a second. The goal isn't to put yourself down. The goal is a kind of glorious self-forgetfulness that just gets your ego out of the center of the universe. So this journey toward real humility, what's it all about? Well, it's gospel-centered, meaning it starts with the story of Jesus. It's love-motivated. It's a response to realizing how loved you are. It is a total mind shift from how the world thinks. And, maybe most importantly, it's action-oriented. It has to show up in the things you actually do. And so that leaves us with one last question to chew on. What would actually change in your life, your job, your family, if you gave up on the project of trying to think less of yourself and instead just started thinking of yourself a whole lot less? What kind of freedom might be waiting for you there?